Is on the road in Arlington, Massachusetts at my friend Veronica and Jeff's house, and we are making the off-season all-purpose vegetarian holiday dinner. Stuffed pumpkin, mashed potatoes, and maybe a surprise if we got enough time. We'll be right back. Many years ago, I don't even remember where or what I was reading, I read about some vegetarians who decided to solve the problem of not really having a real main dish on Thanksgiving with a stuffed pumpkin. I'm not a big squash fan, but I've always been kind of intrigued by this recipe, so today's episode of Off Season will be, in fact, a stuffed pumpkin. Alright, technically it's not a pumpkin. It's a Japanese curry squash, K-U-R-I. It actually is a Cucurbita maxima, which is the same species as a lot of pumpkins. Now, what you need to know, there's actually 3 different species of squash. The one you normally think of as a squash per se is Cucurbita maxima, or the winter squashes. There is also Cucurbita pepo, which is summer squashes like zucchini, patty pan, and actually spaghetti squash, believe it or not. And the 3rd species is moscata, which is mostly butternut squashes and similar species. The main difference is that the maxima and the moscata build up more sugar as you store them after you pick them, whereas the pepo ones do not. They just remain more or less as they came off the vine, although they do toughen up a little. So we are going to get started with a fairly simple way of doing this. Normally what you do is, you can see we've already scooped it out, we've set the seeds aside, we're going to roast them later. I don't know if we're going to do that on camera. We are going to put some butter in, about a tablespoon, and we're going to cover it with plastic wrap and just zap it. Let's see if we can... By the way, there's a cat poking around here, so if he pops in, don't worry. He will not get the food. Now we're going to put this in for just about 8 minutes. To cook it through normally takes about 10 to 12. But we're going to do that. After we're done with that, we're going to put some raw sugar on with some onions and mushrooms. You weren't watching. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the stuffing, actually. Right here, I have cornbread. The recipe actually comes from Cook's Illustrated magazine. It's the Northern Cornbread recipe from their book, Baking Illustrated. I've been making it for a few years, and I will try to get that recipe on the website. I like a nonstick pan for this sort of thing. And we're going to start with onions and celery, and just because I'm that kind of guy, a little bit of garlic. We'll need a little bit of salt. Sea salt, I usually prefer kosher, but you can problem here either. Now, also need about 2 ribs of celery. And 1 clove of garlic, just a little, not too much. We're going to let this cook for a little while. Make sure to get it all out. That's a little less you have to clean out of the hopper. I'm going to turn up the heat on this a little. Now these are dried porcini mushrooms. They've been rehydrated in hot water, and we're actually going to save the hydration. I do recommend keeping these around because sometimes you just want a little bit of mushroom around and you don't normally keep them around fresh. Get them and keep them in a fairly tight container. Set those aside for a minute. We need some herbs. I'm going to keep this fairly simple. A little bit of parsley and some sage, which is a very popular herb around Thanksgiving. So this is a good one to have for anything like this. And like I said, this is an all-purpose holiday dinner because you can have it on Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah or solstice or just for the hell of it, really. Now, we are going to let these cook for a little bit until they're translucent. Now, normally I use chicken broth, but since this is a vegetarian meal, this is vegetable broth. It happens to be Trader Joe's brand because that was recommended as being particularly good. You don't have to use that. You can use whatever you find tasty. Now, this is going to be sort of our flavor base for this. Pepper. I'm very fortunate to have friends who like to cook. Incidentally, if you like breakfast sausage, sage, and some ground pork, salt, pepper, your basic homemade ground pork. And last but not least, got a couple of sprays of thyme. I don't use too much of this, just scrape off the leaves. One of these days, Emerald's going to invent smell-o-vision, and I won't be able to afford to license the patent. Isn't that a shame? Alright. At this point, we probably want to put about 2 cups of liquid in here. About right. Now, Now, we will bring this to a boil, and while we're at it, we are going to bring the oven up to 350. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to take our cornbread and just crumble that in. So, our squash is already ready. So, got that. So we'll just bring this up to a boil, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, I see a problem here. Now, as you can see, our stuffing stock has come up to a boil. So we're just going to break this up and mix it in. Try to get it in smaller chunks than this. As you can see, after about 8 minutes in the microwave, our squash is not done, but almost. Spit out the extra liquid. That's nice. Alright, now we are going to start with a few pinches of this of sugar. This is basically raw sugar, or if you want to get technical about it, turbinado. Always use brown sugar for something like this, not white. It really does make a difference because you get a lot more flavor. Now, Veronica's going to be annoyed with the mess. Just stuff as much as you can in there. Now, we're going to wrap this in foil. And we're just going to put this in the oven for half an hour or so. Check it after about 20 minutes. Just make sure it all gets through. And we are going to transfer this to another container, and we're going to bake it along with the pumpkin. And in the meantime, I'm going to make... Now, I was never terribly a fan of mashed potatoes growing up, but one of the nice things about Arlington is the Blue Ribbon Barbecue over on Mass Ave. It's across from the high school. They are, of course, the best barbecue joint in the area. I eat there a lot. And they make probably some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever had. And oddly enough, they make them out of red potatoes. There's a special reason for this. There's actually two different kinds of starch in potatoes. There's the long chain starch, amylose, which you find in russets and other baking type potatoes. And then there's the short chain branch starch, amylopectin. That's what you find in new potatoes and, as it happens, red potatoes. Now, normally that doesn't bake very well or particularly mash, but I happen to think that it gives it a rather nice creamy texture that you don't normally get. And of course, the fact that they're red potatoes, of course, I am leaving the peel on. Make sure you wash them well. In fact, I do believe I over-budgeted on potatoes, but no bother. Add enough water to cover. And salt. Don't worry too much about this. A lot of this is going to rinse out. Now, this is kind of interesting, mashed potatoes. You will find a lot of people put garlic in their mashed potatoes, and it's fine with me as far as I'm concerned. I do it all the time. It's about 3 cloves there. But what most people do that I usually don't is roast the garlic. And the other thing I like to do, and I honestly can't figure out why no one else does this because a lot of people like it on their baked potatoes, is sour cream. Big dollop of sour cream goes into my mashed potatoes, along with the garlic and a lot of butter. I've been making it this way for a few years, and everyone seems to like it. And we are back. As you can see, our pumpkin is almost ready. Just a couple of final touches on it. There's my sugar. A little bit extra sugar and some butter on the top, and we're going to put it back in for about 5 minutes. Now, in the meantime, our potatoes are just about ready. So we're going to drain them. And put a lot of butter. There's 5 tablespoons, but frankly, put as much as you want in. Now, big dollop sour cream. We'll have some milk around here. We're just going to heat this up to low. If you have a stand mixer, you can also mix this all in with the paddle attachment. And like I said, you leave the peels on. I really do enjoy the texture it gives it. When you get it right down to it, it's just kind of pretty, that's all. Stir it together so you get all the bits of sour cream and butter and all that other goodness mixed in. You'll notice it's a little looser than mashed potatoes made with russets. Don't worry about that too much. Now, there's our stuffing and our pumpkin. And I will be right back because I need to go hunt for a guinea pig. Alright, here's our final main dish. A little extra stuffing. And here is our finished mashed potatoes. And, oh look, I see the lady of the house. This is Veronica, who has generously donated her kitchen. She gets to try it.
Everything looks so good. Very nice pumpkin flavor.
Well, I am going to try some too. Thank you for watching Off Season. I'm Brian Connors. This is my friend Veronica. We're at her house in Arlington. And even though this is getting to you a little too late for Thanksgiving, I hope you have a happy holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all of them.